What happens when success no longer feels fulfilling and you know there has to be another way? Welcome to the Category of One podcast. I'm your host, Ree Perez. I'm joined by my dear friend, Dr. Eric J. Roman, a former dentist turned CEO who has helped lead fast-growing dental groups to over $200 million in care and now supports organizations responsible for billions in annual revenue. But what Eric is really known for goes far beyond numbers. In this episode, we talk about connection, authenticity, and what it means to live and lead as a true category of one. We explore rhythms and systems, personal growth, embracing change, and why love and joy don't belong outside of business, they belong at the center of it. This conversation reminds me that fulfillment isn't found in more, it's found in alignment. You're not going to want to miss this one, so let's dive right in. When you heard that I was rebranding to category of one, or when you heard that I was creating this category of one theme and message, what did that mean to you?
When you said it, it was pulling a string and so much different stuff was unraveling for me inside of it. I remember my response when you first presented me with it. I was like, whoa. I'll tell you one other thing, and you know this as the mark of a great brand. A great brand is like when the moment you say it, it's like people start using the word and the terminology. And that was one thing I recognized as a brand, Eric Roman, like things that I do really well is I say crap that becomes the language immediately.
Yeah.
And like things that stick. And what I need you to know, and I haven't even told you this, bro, I use category of one now, terminology wise, all the time.
Oh, I love it.
And the truth is, I don't know that my team or like the people that I work with, I don't know that they're aware of this. I've been talking about it in a sense from stage.
Yeah.
I'm talking. And you know, there's another nuance to this. And that I discovered this one when I was on stage. It was like a micro stage, which is a group about 50 or 60, some different roles inside of dental companies I was presenting to. And, you know, one of the things I talked about is that the truth is that you are a category of one. The question is whether people know. The question is whether you're living it, whether people are aware, whether you even know what and that was my challenge. We were doing some personal leadership reflection, and I would say that, and I ask questions similar to this from stage a lot. I would say that 20% of people or less recognize what it is that makes them a category of one.
25% or less of the people recognize.
Yep. The vast majority of people look at it, they'll acknowledge, well, yeah, Eric, I get you. Yeah, I'm definitely a category of one when I really think about it. I am there's a small portion at the top that'll be like, no, I don't actually think I am. But the majority will be like, yeah, I'm a category of one. I am unique. I am created uniquely. I have unique skills, gifts, abilities, but I'm not actually sure what they are. Like 20% down there, they'll say, yeah, I am. And I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what that looks like. Oftentimes when you get the brand right, it's almost like we're simply putting on display and on a platter something that had been true the entire time and that we were just missing it. It's almost like we've, when we get that category of one right, we're telling the story that everybody's like, oh, hell yeah, that's always been the way that it was. And like, this fits you so well. And that's exactly what I said. It really was a story. Like when you really get this right, you got it right. And when you got it right, your story of what you established inside of your brand by itself had ripples inside of other people's lives. You did that to me, bro. And like you downstream impacted like my audiences and the people that I serve. So like, what a cool question too. What a cool question for you to sit inside of an audience that like, when you get that one thing really right, that it will have ripple effects, that people will tell a story about you and like in your brand and who you are.
I love that word ripple effect because that is, you know, sort of a big part of why I love doing what I do is for the ripple effect. I'm really good at branding other people. And as we all know, it's always harder to do it when you're inside the bottle. And then when you had said, Ree, that is so you, like immediately that's so, you know, it's like, yo, that is me. It was a nod from the universe. It was a nod from God saying, you're on the right path. and now everything is just it's just with ease and flow. And so that's what I wish for everyone.
It's worthy of repetition. Like there's nothing that like can be overstated inside of it. I think one thing, if you don't mind me sharing a little too,
Of course.
you mentioned it just briefly, but what you actually said was that you were also at a point of transition.
Yeah.
You were stepping away from a model that had quote defined you, like had defined like and by that it was this was the way that you had manifested your value creation to the world. This is
That's
how I
right.
do business. This I'm an agency, all this stuff. And what in our time sharing, like what I was watching you like kind of hitting your head against was that like, oh crap, this was great. It's been awesome. It's been very good to you. It's been like fulfilling and awesome. It's built this stuff, but something's not quite connecting now. This is such an entrepreneurial truth for so
Yeah.
many entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And maybe just people in general in life. I have many times where I've told people, I'm like, listen, like what I wouldn't give to be able to like just pick a manifestation of myself and put a pin in it and hold that pony forever. That would be great. It's just not real. It's just not me. It's not ever going to happen. In fact, like this rule that I've learned is that like these changes are coming, they're inevitable.
Yeah.
And so what I honor in it is that there was something beautiful about it's fun to name stuff. And what you really did is you named the transition of like that way you could say this was my past and now this is the name of my future. And I do that as a personal leadership task with people sometimes. I'm like, "Hey, like name your last quarter. Name what it felt like. Name the quarter that you're going into, like, and this stage of your life." And then we ask the question again sometimes, like, okay, is it still you? Because this is definitely the right thing for you for where you are right now. But like letting go of pretense and saying, hey, if this is 1 month or it's 1 decade, I don't care. But like it's the right thing right now. There'll probably be something else.
You're masterful at putting in systems, which is why we were able to have a biweekly rhythm, right? And you have 5 kids and you have a marriage and you have a thriving business and businesses and like how are you able to do all this thing, right? Then the other thing that I learned in your one life system was that your and maybe I'm translating this into whether it's your goals or your word for the quarter, it's allowed to change because you are evolving, you are changing. And so that's how I interpret it is that sometimes we create these goals and if you don't have a system in place to check in and say, is this still me? Is this still my goal? Is this still my word? Having those rhythms, whether it's quarterly, annually, quarterly, monthly, biweekly, whatever, is paramount in allowing yourself to be in the journey of your life and course correct, evolve, enhance as needed.
Often, like the great things that I discover about myself and my capabilities and the best way for me to create value for other people oftentimes left unchecked becomes my new prison.
Becomes your
It
new
becomes
prison.
my new prison. Yep. And so it's like, often what we dream of and in systems, being a systems architect, like we dream of the system operating continuously, but oftentimes when it's like about us and a portion of our life, sometimes that system it's designed for now somebody else to operate and not you. Or B, like maybe this was part of a phase. And now and so, it's funny. It's actually funny that you say this. I literally my call before this with my team, um, what we notice in executive operational leadership, everybody knows systems like, well, listen, not everybody, but most people recognize the value of good, healthy systems, good, healthy process in creating repeatable, consistent results. But often what we're really good at best is designing the system the first time and just putting it in place. What does that mean? Like, well, did it actually get the result? Are you using it? Is it actually creating the value you wanted it to create? And then how can we tweak it? It actually requires a lot of courage as a leader to put something in place and say, hey, this system, whether it's just about me, or it's about my personal life or whatever it is, it's not perfect. And it's going to need refinement, and it can change. And, again, like back to Eric Roman, it's like a life of change.
When did it unlock for you that systems was the way out? And what was the first system that you put in place? Was it business or personal, or what was the thing that said, "Hey, we need more of this"?
From the get-go, and as a business operator, and I built multi-location dental businesses, was my first version of my life. My first version of my life was as the visionary and the operator. I had to do all the things. I had to learn all the lessons. Rule one, consistent results. And in healthcare, like, brother, you got to have consistent results. There's an extra burden in healthcare. And so we have to have systematic ways to be able to draw consistency out, whether it's consistency in our teams, whether it's consistency in the care and the treatment that we render to patients. And so I discovered very early that systems were the only way. And I would work my butt off from 6 a.m. to 7:45 or 8 p.m. at night for those early years of my journey. I would go home, try and spend a few minutes with my young family, and so I want you to hear that there was an absence there. And all day long, all I experienced was what was broken. And so everything that was broken, then when my family went to bed, 10 o'clock, 10:30, I would work from 10:30 until 2 in the morning, building the systems that then at 6 a.m. the next day, I would put them in place. I was able to see in systems. And I encounter a lot of entrepreneurs and even visionaries in great companies that aren't able to go from idea and destination into the system. That's not a fault. It's just something that it's a skill. Maybe you can refine it, maybe you can't. And so I was thankful because I could see the destination. I had the foresight to see where I wanted to go, and I had the ability to build and implement the system. Now, I'm horrible at follow through and continuous execution. So I had to build that skill in my management team and in my support network, So your question one was, where did I see it? What happened as a result is that systematic foundation, and people think, like, one of the things I hear all the time, oh, systems create robots. No, systems designed to create robots create robots. Systems just create consistency, a consistent outcome. And so if that's what your system's creating, well, it was designed for it. And so I learned that in every facet of what we were doing in the business, like, we simply had to, like, define it. And like, my simplified protocol these days is you got to have the recipe, you got to have the rhythm. Like, that's my thing, recipe and rhythm, that bilateral tool set.
I want to make sure you explain that piece of it. So, can you create that distinction, recipe and rhythm? We talked about rhythm earlier. Why don't you explain for people recipe and rhythm, these two distinctions?
Very easy. First, if we don't have the recipe, we never get that. The documented steps of what's going to be required to cook the product that we want. The ingredients, the order of operations to be able to get there, how you cook. The funny thing is, like, if my wife has a recipe that our family loves, but we never cook it, what value does the recipe have?
I see.
That's part of the rhythm. So the rhythm is the cadence of utilization. So are we using it every single day? Or when we need to be using it? Are we using it at the right times? And we have to have a rhythm of assessment. And like, the rhythm is like, we talk about in the business, like, okay, the recipe's in there and people are using it. On the business, we got to call time out and have a rhythm of pausing. Is the recipe getting the result that we want? Is there an opportunity to improve the recipe, either by eliminating a step? I learned that from Elon, like ruthlessly eliminating everything until you have to put stuff back. And so can we improve the recipe? Is are we using it as much as we should? Is this still the right recipe for us? That's what the rhythm does. And so if you just have a recipe without the rhythm, your company's probably stagnating and you're missing opportunity to be able to grow. The rhythm is what really drives the growth. The recipe is what drives the consistency. If we have one without the other, like, you're going to get some really wild results. If you have a rhythm and you don't have a recipe, you're going to end up with a company that just feels like you're whiplashing your team over and over again, and nobody knows what to be doing and how to deliver on results. If you have a recipe and no rhythm, like, you're probably doing things the exact same way that you've been doing them for 25 years. And you're probably leaving a lot of opportunity on the table as your customers shift, as your teams shift, and as your market shifts. And so, in the modern era, in the day that we live in, and probably every era ever, recipe and rhythm is like the ultimate combination of simplicity, and also, I'd say that's actually my innovation rhythm. It's like where do we start and what do we do?
I love that. You know, how I'm interpreting that too is kind of like you want to have the playbook or the instructions or the checklist or the things to do, but then you also have to take action. It's kind of like the secret people. There's like, oh, it's like manifest, manifest. You also have to take action.
Whatever the problem is inside of your business right now, ask yourself, do we have a recipe? Do we have a rhythm? I have found I've been doing that from stage for the past 6 months when I discovered this. And I tell you, like, people are like, oh crap, it pretty much solves everything. Um, I see companies all the time that have good executive leadership. They're multiplying, they're growing, but like they're like the results aren't quite there. They're almost outstripping, revenues dropping, profitability's dropping, like as they get bigger. But like we've got this great leadership team, these wonderful people. We meet every 90 days. Everybody knows they're like, EOS world. We've got rocks, we've got strategy, we've got all this stuff. But then I ask them a very simple question. I'm like, do your people operating at the unit level that are actually touching your customers, do they absolutely know what they're supposed to be doing every single day? And like, is it written? Is it clear? And they're like, no. Or worse, the people at the top say yes, they absolutely know. And then you ask people at the bottom and they're like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I see it all the time. And I also see the opposite. I see like, the people that are just wondering why things aren't changing and like, hey, we have this really great like set of ways that we do things, we get outsized results, but we just can't manage to like grow, like what's going on. And so yeah, it's been a fun reference point that it'll be fun too to see what your viewers think about this as they apply it. Is this a recipe issue? Is it a rhythm issue?
All right. So I do want to shift gears a little bit
Well,
because
hold on. You can't shift gears on me because then you ask the question of like, which came first? It happened first in my business. We used the systems to scale the business. And then I recognized that the business had taken control of my life and that I had destroyed who I wanted to be as a husband and a father. I wasn't proud of what I was doing inside of my family. And I realized that the same things that were making my business great could be adapted in a sense to build the health inside of my home. And my home was the first place I looked, because like that was the thing that was obviously burning down. But then what I also recognized is that, wait a minute, even just inside of me and my own personal leadership and my relationship with Eric, I realized that the next level of growth came through like my ability to harness this pony. And it was systems. And so what I'll just acknowledge, and this is typically everyone's path. First, we fight to validate ourselves with business success. Then we realize, well, what I really wanted is I wanted success in my personal life. But then what we realized is that like, if I don't figure out me, I'm screwed. I believe we have fallen victim to like, what the world wants from us is for us to be in submission to this win with money, win with like fame, win with all this other stuff, win with big businesses. As we age, it becomes more about like, wait a minute, hold on. Like the reason we've been doing all those things is because there's a joy that we've been wanting to experience internally. There's a joy and a fulfillment that we want to have. There's a presence. And it's sad for all of us that like are stuck in the unfulfilling eternal desire for more, which is the truth of like life as a human. And you can read the stories on like all the billionaires, like how much more will it take? Well, just a few more billion. And that's what they always say. And they'll even tell you that, the more successful they are, the more trapped they are. And the more sad in a sense, of what's there. Like we're chasing something that has been proven not to provide the real thing that we've always wanted. Happiness really isn't the thing that we want. We really want joy, because joy honors the reality of our condition as humans, that like there's some crappy days. I'm grateful that I discovered it when I did. I'm grateful that, like, my eyes were open to it. It's still something I struggle with every single day. It's like it's not like it goes away, I'm still trying to build companies, and I always will. It's part of, like, the yearning. When you build systems that work, you wanna use them for the greater good. The more that I'm able to harness my role as a category of one, like, the more that, I'm aware of the ability that I have to create value, the more that you wanna use that, the more that you want to apply that. And, it's funny because, literally in sitting with my team and we're working on a big project for tomorrow, a lot of the notes that I recognize that I take are always about how to sharpen the sword of how I apply, my energy, like honing the tip of my ability to apply energy. And, how can I get better results with, like, less energy? You don't have to set a lot of time aside for you, but setting aside a little bit of time and just stepping back and asking some important questions, like, it has such a magnificent return on the investment that you put into it. I joked that, like, when you if you took 2 days of every quarter to, like, and that's a lot. If you took 2 days to focus on you, that's, like, roughly 1% of your quarterly energy. It's really like, are you willing to give up a percent of your quarter? 5% time, isn't that what Google calls it? Their 5% time where they take, a little bit of their extra time to be able to work on projects that are just of importance to them. I'm suggesting far less.
Well, what seems to be energizing you, or what seems to be your North Star by result of having all your rhythms and recipes in place gets you closer to that North Star, or gets you to experience that destination that you're heading to? Like, what seems to be like pulling you forward these days?
I have always been a futurist. I was, I live for change. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. I'm not gonna act like I'm alone, but using the term, it was funny. ChatGPT was, I had given it all my personality profiles, and I was asking it to review me for more clarity, and it continued to use that terminology. I was super interesting. And what was interesting is ChatGPT had surmised that my futurist was a function of hardship. And it was a function of, like, difficulties and trauma and things like that. And what I was like, "Oh, my dear, chat, you've actually missed that." Like, if you were to ask my parents to tell stories about me as a child, like, the futurist was always present. Like, it has been, like, this cornerstone piece. So, I guess what I would say, is that, I live for ushering in some type of future. Like, that is, like, and I think that is this a motivation for many of us as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's that, like, we have such passion about changing outcomes in the future different from what they are now, and um, for me, that's pivoting more and more, to back, I'll say, to love. Like, I know it sounds like hippie in a sense. Everything about what I'm doing inside of business is inside the dental industry, which is like a lot of people, when you say love in the dental industry, those are two words that would not go together. I think it's introduced for the first time. I don't know that love has ever been present there. Showing love for our customers, for the people that been given the gift to be able to serve, showing love for each other, for the teams that we spend extraordinary amounts of time with on a daily basis, showing love for ourselves and being able to enjoy the journey, and being able to love the decisions that we've made to be able to be present there. What many of your listeners might not know about people in the dental industry is all they want to do is get out. The dental industry is such a place of, like, misery and hardship, and despite making great incomes, lots of intense internal pressure. You've heard data about dentists and suicide and things like that. Like, maybe the new fabric for me is like a love-filled future. Everybody knows what it feels like to be able to wake up and be like, hell yeah, like, this is awesome. Like, I get to do this every day. Um, you know, that's a future I dream of for my kids.
I love that.
And, as they're on their journeys, and I've been blessed with these 5 children that I've been given the ability to steward, on their journeys. And I think, like, what do I want them? Do I want them to follow my footsteps? Do I want them to be famous? Do I want them? No, I want them to be able to experience, a life that they can love. love in their life, and a life they can love.
To me, that's what makes you a category of one.
You know what's funny when you say that, Ree? Dan Sullivan talks about with his concept of unique ability that with unique ability, it's that thing that you think everybody that like it comes so easily to you that you think everybody's good at it. And it was funny the way that you just said that, so what was really easy for me to sit in? It was really easy for me to sit in that I am a category of one. And and that when you combine together the more variables and parts of me that you combine together, that's just me and my most authentic self. That me and my authentic self is abso-freaking-lutely a category of one. I am content with that. You know what? One thing that I'm saying inside of my business too, anybody can duplicate the things that I say, but nobody can be me still. Like no matter what, anybody can duplicate a product, anybody can reverse engineer it, anybody can take my words, and yet nobody can reproduce me and the ability to create those things or think like I do. Nobody can produce the ability for me to be able to be present and talk about something and just be me. And nobody can reproduce my ability to just show love for someone. And, because a lot of, I had a business partner a couple of years ago. James told me, he's like, Eric, one of the things I love about what you do when you're on a stage or when you're doing anything is it's like in a weird sense, you're making love to your audience. Like you're pouring out your love upon them. And it's like, oftentimes it's like, it just comes so naturally to you to just like love someone first. And a lot of when he said that, like it really landed. I was like, I was created to be a lover.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you were.
when you said that, like I thought, and you said, "Hey, Eric, like, you're certainly a category of one in the results that you get or the way that you do things." And I thought, maybe you're right, Reed. This should be easy for anybody. Why wouldn't anybody do this? But like that was the unique ability frame for me. But deep down inside, like I think what I'm grateful for is that when you said to me, Eric, stop being an idiot and let me take you on like a journey with a personal brand to establish it.
Yeah.
It allowed me to and it didn't happen overnight, but it has allowed me over time
It was a journey.
to step into real authenticity. And it will always go on, but it allowed me to say, hey, this is me. Actually it's funny. I watched Greatest Showman with one of my daughters again the other night. Like all-time top 3 movie for me. And like, just to harness that this is me. And I'm really, I'm at my best when that's who I'm living as. And that's that. And this is me. And this is me living as a category of one.
Do you remember I called you one day and I said, hey, I think I have this acronym on how I want to, they're kind of almost like prompts to help people kind of figure out what makes them a category of one. And the acronym was BUFFO, the best at something, the most unique at something, the first of or the first to do something, or the only in the category. And I think you are the best at pouring love into your audiences. I think you are so unique in your category in every way, as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a dad, like the way that you show up in bringing in love and joy. I would also say that I think you're probably maybe in the dental industry, which is why you're like a celebrity in there, is like you're probably the first person to really go up on stage and speak to this community and saying, this is the way.
When you said it to me and you asked me, you said, hey, which are you? Like BUFFO, which are you? And I thought, wow, bro, I'm all of them. One thing that I live for is I live for blue oceans. One thing that I learned about Eric Roman is that when Eric Roman feels like he's competing in a red ocean, it is not me. Maybe it's just internal semantics and brain gyrations and me convincing myself that it's a blue ocean in the way that I'm doing it. But I will just say, like, that acronym, I think, just fits so well. And I think it's I love when you use that. I was actually trying to remember what the exact acronym was.
Yeah.
And so I love that you use that. And I know that that's something that will probably really resonate with everybody that's sitting there and saying, hey, like, this is what it means to be, this is what it means to be a category of one.
I think people are getting it. And the more and more I share and I talk about it, just gives people a nice little frame, a place to look. a place to aspire, a place to kind of like, hey, what do I want to be the best at next, right? Going back to this iterative process of who we are, you might be the best at something today, but guess what? Like Uber was like the only one in the category, or they were probably the best, but then Lyft came.
Yeah, Ree, I just want to acknowledge you for it. That's what great frameworks do. When you as a thought leader build and have the gift for creating unique frameworks like that, and you put them in place, what it does is it allows every human to kind of like see themselves inside of it and to see where they fit. And great frameworks and thought leadership like that, when someone sees it, they're like,
People want to find out about you. Where should we send them to?
it's a hell yes on that. It's Dr. Eric J. Roman. And like at the end of the day, like I say, I've actually had to have a really big reboot, and what it means for me to be is Dr. Eric J. Roman. And what's interesting too, I'm literally at the point of launching a new brand that's not me, that like a product, a company. We call it Dental Associate Growth. And so what's interesting is that like whenever you have new things, it's like it creates a little bit of sharpening inside of the brand as I say, okay, what is this product versus like this is the me that goes into the product? How do they interrelate and correlate? And so, yeah, like either of those two things, Dr. Eric J. Roman, ROMAN.com is where you find out more about me. And, like if you want to go on a journey of like what I do inside of the dental industry, if it's applicable to maybe your industry or something that you might do, like Dental Associate Growth, how we develop the future of employed providers inside of a professional environment is a lot of what I do.
Go check out drericjroman.com. Again, we'll put that link into the notes here. So, brother, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for energy and your heart and the ongoing recipe and rhythm on what it looks like to have an amazing friendship and brotherhood with you. So thank you for that.
I want to thank you for courageously being willing to like test out the stupid rhythm that I suggested a long time ago, and allowing for that inside of your busy life. And I want to just thank you for being courageous and stepping into what it took for you to receive that you are now a category of one. And I want to thank you for the downstream effect that it's not just out of my life, but in the lives of so many others, Ree. So thank you, brother.
Thanks, brother. All right, everyone. Until the next episode, we'll chat with you soon. See you later, Eric. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you gathered at least one nugget that you can take into your life today. To dive deeper into my work, please visit reperez.com. That's reperez.com. It's a central hub to explore how to work one-on-one with me, to connect with me on Instagram or social media, or you can check out my new book, Your Brand Should Be Gay Even If You're Not, or you can inquire about booking me to speak to your audiences about the power of building a category of one brand. Your unique gifts and your unique superpowers. Lean into what sets you apart, and I'll see you next week.